Monday to 6:30 a.m. Alarm goes off. You drag yourself out of bed, make coffee, sit in traffic, sit at a desk, come home exhausted. Tuesday, same thing. Wednesday, same thing. You tell yourself it's temporary, just until you pay off the student loans, just until you get that promotion, just until you save enough. But here's what nobody tells you, that just until has a way of becoming forever. There's a name for this feeling, this exhausting, relentless, never quite catching up feeling that millions of people wake up to every single morning. It's called the rat race. And today, we need to talk about it, because chances are you're already in it. And the most unsettling part, it was designed that way. The term rat race comes from an observation about laboratory rats. Put a rat in a running wheel, it runs. Give it food as a reward, it runs faster. Move the food further away, it runs even faster. The rat never questions the wheel. It never asks why it's running. It just runs. And somewhere along the way, we became the rat. The modern rat race was born during the Industrial Revolution. Before factories, most people worked for themselves. Farmers, craftsmen, traders, you worked hard, but you worked for something you owned. Then came the factories. Suddenly, millions of people were working not for themselves, but for someone else, trading their time for a wage. And the system that emerged was elegant in its design. You earn money, you spend money, you need more money. So you work more, which means you earn more, which means you spend more, which means you need more, around and around. The Scottish writer Thomas Carlyle observed in 1843 that the Industrial Revolution had created a new kind of poverty, not poverty of money, poverty of time. Workers had wages, but they had no life. Sound familiar? That was 180 years ago, and somehow we're still running the same wheel. Here's the part that nobody wants to admit. The rat race isn't just an economic system. It's a psychological trap, and our own brains are working against us. Let's start with something called the Hedonic Treadmill. In 1978, psychologists Philip Brickman and Donald Campbell published research showing something deeply uncomfortable. When people experience positive events, a pay raise, a promotion, a new house, their happiness spikes. But within weeks or months, they return to their baseline level of happiness, as if the good thing never happened. So they chase the next thing, and the next, and the next. This is the hedonic treadmill, the psychological equivalent of a rat wheel, built directly into the human brain. You get the raise, you feel great for 3 weeks. Then that becomes normal, and now you need the next raise to feel great again. The goalposts never stop moving because your brain keeps moving them. Then there's social comparison. In 1954, psychologist Leon Festinger proposed social comparison theory, that humans have a fundamental drive to evaluate themselves by comparing themselves to others, not to people doing worse, to people doing slightly better. Your neighbor gets a new car. You feel inadequate about your car. Your coworker gets a promotion. You feel stagnant in your career. Your friend buys a house. You feel behind in life. Economists call this keeping up with the Joneses. And in the age of social media, where everyone's highlight reel is broadcast 24 hours a day, this comparison engine runs at full power all the time. You're not just comparing yourself to your neighbors anymore. You're comparing yourself to everyone all at once, forever. And here's the cruelest part. The system benefits from this comparison. Every time you feel inadequate, you spend money to feel better. A new car, a nicer apartment, a better phone. And every time you spend money, you need to earn more. And every time you need to earn more, you work more. And every time you work more, you're deeper in the wheel. The rat race doesn't continue despite the system. It continues because of it. Let's talk about where the rubber meets the road. Because the rat race isn't just a philosophical concept. For millions of people, it's the specific, grinding reality of never having quite enough. Here are the numbers. In the United States, 78% of workers live paycheck to paycheck. That's not people in poverty. That's workers, people with jobs, salaries, and benefits, who would struggle to cover a $400 emergency expense. In the United Kingdom, a 2023 study found that 1 in 3 British workers run out of money before their next payday. Across Europe, the cost of living crisis of 2022 to 2024 pushed millions of middle-class households into financial difficulty for the first time in their lives. Here's what paycheck to paycheck actually looks like. Payday arrives. Before you can even breathe, rent is due, utilities, groceries, car payment, student loan, credit card minimum, insurance, subscriptions you forgot about. By the time you've paid everything, there's almost nothing left. And you tell yourself next month will be different. But next month looks exactly the same. This is not a personal failure. This is a structural reality. Between 1979 and 2020, worker productivity in the U.S. increased by 61%. Worker wages increased by 17%. The gap between what workers produce and what they're paid for producing it has never been wider. You're working harder than any generation before you. But the math wasn't designed to let you get ahead. It was designed to keep you running. Let's pause for a second, because here's a question worth sitting with. Are you in a rat race? Not theoretically, actually. Sign number 1. You work primarily to pay bills, not because the work itself gives you meaning. Sign number 2. Your lifestyle expands every time your income does, so you never feel like you're ahead. Sign number 3, you measure your progress by comparing yourself to others, not by asking whether you're actually happy. Sign number 4, you regularly tell yourself things will get better once you reach the next milestone, without noticing that the next milestone keeps moving. Sign number 5, the thought of stopping, even temporarily, fills you with anxiety rather than relief. If you recognized yourself in any of those, you're not alone. Most people running the rat race don't know they're in it because the wheel keeps spinning, and spinning wheels feel like progress. Now, the part everyone wants to hear. How do you escape? And I'm going to be honest with you, because most answers to this question are disappointing. They tell you to cut your daily coffee. They tell you to invest in index funds. They tell you to hustle harder. That's not what I'm going to tell you, because those answers miss the actual problem. The rat race isn't primarily a financial problem. It's a clarity problem. Most people are running as fast as they can toward a destination they never consciously chose. They chose the career their parents approved of. They bought the house because that's what you do. They chased the salary because more is better. But they never stopped to ask, is this actually what I want? The people who escape the rat race, and they exist, they're real. They don't all quit their jobs and move to the countryside. They do something more radical than that. They get clear on what enough means to them. In 1992, financial authors Joe Dominguez and Vicki Robin published a book called Your Money or Your Life. Their central argument was simple. Money is life energy. Every dollar you earn costs you a piece of your life. Every dollar you spend, you've already traded a piece of your life for. So the question isn't, how do I earn more? The question is what I'm spending my life on actually worth my life? When you start asking that question, something shifts. You stop upgrading things you don't actually care about. You stop competing with people whose lives you don't actually want. You stop chasing milestones that were never yours to begin with. Researchers at Cornell University found that people's biggest regrets at the end of their lives are almost never about things they did. They're about things they didn't do. Time they didn't take, choices they didn't make, lives they didn't actually live because they were too busy running. The rat race ends when you decide it ends, not when you hit a number in your bank account, not when you get a title on your business card, not when you own a bigger house than your neighbor. It ends when you decide that your life, your actual finite, non-refundable life, is worth more than the wheel. Now, is it easy? No. Is it possible? Yes. But it starts with a question that most people are too busy running to ask. What are you actually running toward? And when you get there, will it have been worth the run?